Hey Harry, thanks for having me on your podcast. I really appreciate it. Hopefully you don't get to enjoy a win on the weekend, but I appreciate you having me on nevertheless. So here to talk about a few things Manchester United. Firstly, I'm Adam. You might know me as Adam Joseph on Twitter, you might not. I'm a former journalist who now just has a bit of fun with content creation. I'm on the No Question About That podcast with Ed and the gang, and I'm also on The Promised Land with Scott Saunders once a month. But mostly you'll just find me taking the piss of rival fans and just having a bit of fun with football. But I'm here to talk about United and things going into the game. So in terms of the season, it was a really frustrating start. The pressure was on. There was no goodwill left for Ruben Amorim after how last season ended. We won't talk about that too much, being that it involves Tottenham, but it was a weird start to the season. They struggled out of the gate. They weren't quite getting the reward. The metrics were promising, but they weren't quite they just weren't getting the results they needed, to be perfectly honest. I'm not sure what I expected. I knew that they needed to hit the ground running, and unfortunately it took a little while. But after the Brentford game, you could have said that it was the beginning of the end for Ruben Amorim, but it has turned a little bit since then. The last month, it started with the win against Sunderland, and then obviously the win against Liverpool at Anfield, and then the really, really impressive win over Brighton at Old Trafford. And then the draw against Nottingham Forest was a strange one because it was really disappointing not to get that fourth win in a row. That narrative has obviously been huge for a variety of reasons, but a draw against Forest, when you consider that Forest have been a good side for the last 12 months, it does on the surface appear to be a good result. Just a little frustrating that they couldn't get the 3 points in the end. So you can look at it as 2 points dropped, not a point gained, but I can see both sides of the argument. Going into the game, it's a massive game for both clubs. I think Tottenham have actually been pretty impressive overall, despite some mixed recent results, and the midweek result was obviously great. And last weekend was pretty dramatic, especially what happened after the game, but going into the international break, it would be really good for United to take some more positive momentum in. A loss would really sap that, considering the 4 games beforehand. So in terms of the predicted lineup, I'd like to see much of the same, and thankfully for United, they don't have a lot of injury problems, so only Lisandro Martinez is expected to definitely be out of the team this Saturday. So the only change I anticipate is Patrick Dorgu to come in for Diogo Dalot, who's been a bit of a whipping boy with Manchester United fans. He's probably been our poorest performed player in recent weeks. Unfortunately, he's a squad player who's been thrust into a regular starter role, and I think that has caused a bit of issue, particularly with him playing on the left, where he's probably more suited to just staying as a right wing back. But the lineup overall will be Sano Lamens and goal, continuing to provide that stability. The back three of Lenny Yoro, Matthias de Ligt and Luke Shaw. Ahmad will start on the right, you'd expect, but then again on the left, Dorgu hopefully comes in for Dalot. In the middle, it'll almost certainly be Casemiro and Bruno Fernandes, who have formed a good pairing there. As much as I'd like to see Kobbie Mainoo play, they just can't find a spot for him at the moment, and that's more as a result of system than anything to do with his talent, in my opinion. That leaves the front three, which will probably be Brian Mbeumo, Matthias Cunha, or Benjamin Sesko, I should say. But the one thing I would note is that Mason Mount has been liked in bigger games just because of what he brings in terms of the team. Tottenham fans would know this well from his Chelsea days. But he brings out the best in everyone else because of the work rate and teamwork that he provides. So all the little things he does, and particularly he's so key to our pressing. But yeah, I guess that's the lineup I want to see and expect to see. If I had to take one Spurs player at United right now, who would it be and why? It would be Lucas Bergvall, because he was actually on trial at United, couldn't get a work permit, and when the rules changed down the track, he ended up at Spurs, and I'm very jealous. He is going to be a great player. So he would be the one that I would take. I'm not big on pinching players from other Big Six clubs. There's just something about the rivalry that I don't love. But the Spurs player I fear the most, at full health, it would be Kulusevski. Otherwise, I would have to say if Mohamed Kudus is fit to play with his knock, I would probably say him, because he's quite dangerous. He's always sort of the player who causes us issues. But also your centre-back pairing I really like in Romero and Van der Ven. So it's a bit of everything for me. I just really like the team you put together. You managed to sustain injuries, which is not easy. particularly modern football. But Tom, I know that Thomas Frank is a little bit polarising, at least amongst the players. Predicted score and scorers. I'm going to say a score draw, probably be 2-2. I'd love to say that we'll grab the win, but away clash is never easy. It's a great stadium. But I would take a draw on the road to answer the last question that I've been asked today. But also for United and where they're at under Ruben Amorim, it's almost as much about the performance as it is the results. But ultimately, we know that winning cures everything in football. So the results matter the most. But yeah, I would take a draw, but I hope it comes via a strong performance. But thanks again for having me, mate. You guys can follow me at Adam Joseph with 4 underscores for now on Twitter. Although I don't actually make too much fun of Tottenham. There's not a lot of stuff there compared to Manchester City or Liverpool or Newcastle, and all those northern clubs that I hate. The London clubs I tend to leave alone a little bit more. But yeah, you might see me complaining or talking through the game on Saturday. But good luck. I wish no good result for Tottenham. But thanks again for having me, Harry, and take care.